Two. Hi, hello everyone. My name is Hirsch Mehta. I'm the recruiting specialist for the College of Engineering based in Boston. We'd like to thank you all for joining us today, especially depending on where you're joining us. It could be the morning, evening, or even afternoon. You're joining me for an amazing session from our Department of Chemical Engineering. We have great faculty members joining us, as well as an amazing student ambassador who themselves will be introducing themselves as we go throughout the presentation. There are some groundkeeping rules I like to discuss with you all. You all have the access to the chat feature on your screen. Please use that as a space to type in any questions you have, anything related to the department, program, something specific. If you have a question related to your application, that is more of a question that needs to be emailed to us in our admissions team, as that does require further investigation. So this is just our code of conduct slide. So we definitely want to take the time to take this opportunity to say, this is a safe space. We like you guys to all use this space to ask great questions, get some of your questions answered. So the university seeks to provide a supportive environment that is conducive to learning and the pursuit of truth and exchange of knowledge and the intellectual development of students and the general good of society. So without further ado, this is just something that you guys could glance at, but I'd like to pass it over to Adam.
Well, hello, everyone. Nice morning here in Boston. So thank you for showing up or watching online and learning a little bit more about our programs. So we are, of course, located in the heart of Boston, Massachusetts. And really, this is a tremendous city in terms of learning, worldwide reputation. And it's also a tremendous area for innovation in the biotech and materials industry in particular. And so we have a lot of connections with local industries, a lot of collaborations with research hospitals in the area, and many other institutions across the region.
Our approach to learning is very simple, very powerful, and very impactful. It's called experience. You're not only thinking, you're doing, and you're bringing the two together.
Co-op got me to see the real world application of what it is that I'm learning.
You get the more structured class learning to really get the initial concepts in your head, but then you get a chance to go on co-op and actually getting your own hands-on opportunities to try them for yourself.
And that just getting to swap back and forth between that, it's intoxicating, honestly. It allows you to hone all these different skills at the same time. You're coupling their new theoretical knowledge from taking more classes with their increased lab experience, and it's really, really powerful.
I was able to learn the process of research, which was cool, much different than a lab experience. Although a lot of the stuff I learned in lab, I was able to take with me.
To now be able to know exactly what questions I need to ask, what research I need to do, and just hit the ground running.
They gain a level of confidence that they wouldn't have necessarily received had they not had that professional experience. They also gain this level of professionalism that I see gets translated back into the classroom.
I think I understand how to study better and how to learn better and how to apply what I'm learning into different applications that I think I might have had a disconnect with before.
I have a high hiring cost. The program and the results that we see in that time is we can't compare it to anything else.
My advice, go to the International Co-op office. They'll help you find one in Asia. We have many students doing co-ops in Asia.
So it was kind of interesting just to see the values in China that some of the patients had, their families had.
Being in Portugal really helped me develop my language skills.
Realizing that there's so much more out there in the world. I think Northeastern caters their program to allow each student to have a lot of flexibility.
You really make your own experiences.
So that was just a quick sort of summary video recapping the broader institutional model that Northeastern runs on, which is experiential education. And we'll talk more about co-op later, but a great number of our students, both at the undergraduate and graduate level, do participate in co-ops. But of course, it's not mandatory. We have other options for you as well. So we are, of course, housed in the College of Engineering, which is a broader college here, one of the largest at Northeastern. And so we have over 10,000 total students in the college with lots of different programs at the master's, PhD, and undergraduate level. We have a lot of research going on here. We are a Tier 1 research institute, and we are growing every year. Within the Department of Chemical Engineering, I'm going to play another quick video here to sort of introduce you just to our department.
Chemical engineers can solve any of the world's challenges. Climate change, health, medicine.
How do you build a sustainable world?
All these different things that our future as a planet depends on, everything can tie back into chemical engineering.
The master's program is really coursework or research where you get a little bit more in depth than you did as a bachelor's student. And then the doctorate is really all about research.
Research facilities here at Northeastern are great. We have world-class equipment and capabilities.
My research focuses more on examining the endothelial calyx in organ-specific cancer metastasis. It affects many people. Many people have died from it. And so obviously there's just a need to find a cure.
Batteries, they produce a lot of heat. And if we're going to put it into an electric vehicle, we have to get different ways of removing that heat efficiently. Otherwise, we're going to see them flare up. My research is how can we improve polymer materials? How can we make these battery packs safer? And how can we make them more cost effective?
We spend a lot of time thinking about what allows our students to be their best selves and to pursue their own dreams and their careers.
Northeastern has the experiential model.
You're in charge of your own project. You have your own timeline that you create and the goals that you want to do.
We're embedded in this ecosystem that is really looking at how do we advance technology for health, for energy, and for climate.
Boston is a biotech hub, so there's so many pharmaceutical companies, and I was thinking about future career opportunities when I decided Northeastern.
That idea of finding where you want to be is just experiencing something before you do it and commit to it is just a really exciting opportunity. And so we encourage our students to do co-ops.
And then they come back with new knowledge and they've learned things that I wouldn't even think to teach them.
My co-op is at Rogers Corporation. When you get back into the field, you know exactly what to do because you've seen that before. You have the thought process down, you know where to go.
What's so great about Northeastern is just so much collaborations between different departments.
This is the most supportive community I've ever been in. Academically, professionally, personally, there's always someone there to support you and they just want to see you succeed.
All right, so we've got some fast facts on the department here, but we just heard in the video from our chairperson, Rebecca Willits. And then today on the webinar, we have Professor Inoa Bong, who you'll be hearing from a little bit later, and she is the Associate Chair for Graduate Studies, in addition to being Associate Professor and doing research in the department. And then myself as well, so I'm Adam Eckenshire. I'm Associate Director of Master's Programs, as well as a teaching professor here at Northeastern. A couple other contacts that you might hear from as you get more into the admissions and enrollment process would be our academic coordinator, Cindy Rainier. So she is within the Department of Chemical Engineering and helps our students sort of do the things they want to do and make sure that they're on track and get all the paperwork done when it needs to get done and get into courses they need to get into and so forth. And then Krista Robinette is the business manager. So any kind of work with just in general throughout the department, she sort of facilitates. So we do have currently almost 100 PhD students in our program, as well as around 50 master's students across 2 programs that we'll talk about in a minute. And then, of course, we're around about 400 undergraduate students. And we've got really around, I would say, about 27 research active faculty within the department right now, or that will be joining us by January. So let's talk about the programs themselves a little bit real quick here. So we'll go through the 3 primary programs in the department at the graduate level. The first is the PhD. So with the PhD program, you're looking to really get in depth into research and be here typically for 4 to 6 years. And you're going to take 4 core courses in chemical engineering. These are traditional core courses that you'll find most programs, so thermokinetics and transport and math. And then there's 8 semester hours of electives, some professional development courses, and a research seminar where we bring in invited speakers to sort of expand your knowledge base. And then as well, a research course before you move on to your proposal defense. And so the proposal defense, then when you pass that, you become officially a PhD candidate, and then you'll move eventually towards your dissertation defense. We do have an advanced entry option, and that can allow you to waive up to 3 core courses if you have previously completed a CHEMI or related master's degree. And we can talk more about that if you have questions, but there's also going to be information available in our published graduate guidebook. Co-ops and internships are possible with all of our degrees, even the PhD level. Many of our PhD students do a co-op sometime during their time here, but again, of course, it's not required. And you have to make sure that the co-op makes sense in the context of your research. And you can also use electives that you take to help earn certifications in various topics. So we have some that are popular within the department, such as nanomedicine and process safety. So we have recently renovated our master's program in chemical engineering. So this is the first year currently on ground where we have students participating in up to 3 different concentrations within our master's program. And so we have these split between either a research-oriented concentration, called here Principles and Applications, or 2 coursework concentrations, either in biosystems or sustainability. So with the coursework, you're looking at 32 semester hours. Really, in either case, it's 32 semester hours of total coursework. They have shared common core with 2 courses and a seminar course. And then from there, we get into specialization. So these will be what we call depth electives, as well as core courses within each concentration that are specific to those. And then in place of the depth electives at the research level, we start to sub in these research courses, which are MS Project and MS Thesis, which you take along the way to either completing the project or thesis option. So the project option will have a master's project presentation at the end, but you won't be finishing with a thesis, and just with some research experience, hopefully a good letter of recommendation. But if you want the published thesis from your master's work, then you have to continue on and take that MS Thesis course and defend your thesis document in front of your thesis committee. Co-ops are still absolutely possible here. The default timeline for these programs is 1.5 to 2 years. So the thesis option, really, you should expect 2 full years to pursue a thesis research. And if you are doing the coursework options, it is entirely possible to finish that in just 1.5 years. However, if you do a co-op, that's typically a 6-month time, although there are 4 to 8 month options, especially at the graduate level. But the default 6 months, and so you should expect to extend your time overall a bit there. Again, you can use elective credits, these breadth electives here. You can help co-count those towards various certificates. The university has over 100 different certificate options, mostly in the College of Engineering and College of Science. We have a couple, again, that tend to be popular for our students. And if you're really interested in research career in the future, we do really recommend the research option and to go for the research thesis. Going from MS to PhD is possible. We say here, do good MS thesis research, right? If you apply to and are admitted to the master's program, then that's what you're here for. You applied to and were admitted for the master's program. If you applied to and were admitted to the PhD program, it's a separate program. But once you're here in the master's program, there are really 2 mechanisms by which you could move into the PhD program. The first is, well, you submit an application for the PhD program in the next year's pool, and then you go through a competitive process, and you might get admitted. The other is if you've chosen this thesis option and you've impressed your research advisor and they want to hire you and they want to switch you into a PhD program, then we're going to make that happen. And that would be you sort of deciding to stay here for 4 to 6 years instead of the around 2 years for the thesis. Okay, in addition to our PhD and Master's in Chemical Engineering programs, we do also have a separate MS in Pharmaceutical Engineering program. So this is still 32 semester hours over 1.5 to 2 years as a full-time. It can be taken part-time. All of these degrees can be, except the PhD, can be done part-time. So all the master's degrees can be done part-time. Core coursework for the pharmaceutical engineering program is split between chemical engineering. So we'll have 2 theoretical courses and a hands-on lab course that we teach out of the Department for Pharmaceutical Engineering. And then there's also 8 semester hours of core from Pharmaceutical Sciences in the College of the Bouvet College of Pharmaceutical Sciences. And so that is going to be both split there between theoretical courses and, again, hands-on lab courses. The elective courses within this program are split into 3 buckets. There's going to be at least 1 course that you're going to take that's going to focus on regulatory aspects, which are really important in this field. A course that focuses on quality and statistics, also very important in the field. And then there's 7 semester hours of depth electives that give you some flexibility to specialize in particular different areas. And still, it is possible to do co-ops or internships on the pharmaceutical engineering program, but it is coursework only. So there's no thesis or project option with the PharmEng program. Okay, so that's a little bit about our program. And now I'm going to turn it over to Professor Abong to talk a little bit about the research in our department.
Morning, everyone. Well, it's morning here in Boston. As Professor Eckenstein mentioned, I am Professor Ebong, Associate Chair for Graduate Studies in Chemical Engineering and an Associate Professor in both Chemical Engineering and Bioengineering. I run an active research laboratory along with 25 other research active faculty in our department, which are shown here. You can learn more about them by accessing this directory. And on the next slide, you see that are very interdisciplinary in terms of the type of the research that we conduct. So we've got a number of faculty who are affiliated with us, and they come also from other departments in the College of Engineering. They come from the College of Science, and they also come from our Bouvet College of Health Sciences. Next slide, please. So these faculty are working in 5 different research areas, and these include complex and computational systems for those who really love math and modeling. They focus on materials and nanotechnology, energy and sustainability, biomolecular and biomedical systems, as well as engineering, education, and pedagogy. Next slide. And as we haven't heard from you yet, I do just want to pause for a minute as I'm talking about research, just to hear what, in terms of our research, attracts you to Northeastern University, what your long-term goals are. Please feel free to put those into the chat if you can. And if you would like to speak, we might be able to unmute you. I'm just going to pause and see if I can hear from you all. Professor Eckenstein, maybe you can toggle back to that previous slide. So we're just asking students to please tell us what brings you to be interested in pursuing your master's in chemical engineering or pharmaceutical engineering or your PhD in chemical engineering. Which of these research areas excite you the most?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I am not necessarily interested in the biotech or pharmaceutical industry. I know that's kind of what you're close to, located in Boston. It would be more so an interest in like surfactants and emulsions. So I wasn't exactly sure what research area that kind of went under. So I wanted to ask.
Excellent question. That would be materials and nanotechnology, but it also does fall under our biosystems. Excellent question. And I see somebody posted in computational, posted in the chat an interest in computational systems. Who asked that question?
Hi, sorry. This was Leah Wilson, a a senior chemical engineering student at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University.
Hi, Leah. So I personally got excited when you talked about surfactants and emulsions because I work on a structure called the glycocalyx, which is a little bit similar to that. Another one of our faculty members, and we both are biosystems people, would be Professor Rebecca Carrier, who works on the mucus that lines the gut. So excellent question. I'm just mentioning what we do, and again, inviting you and others on this call to go through and read on our directory the research that we do so that when you're applying for our program, you can tell us more about what you do. And I see Pius mentions interest in energy and sustainability. Thank you. And I think I saw one other person unmute wanting to chime in. We'd love to hear from you. Go ahead. I see Ayobanjo unmuted. But we can't hear you, so maybe your sound is not working. Well, without further ado, we'll move on to the next slide. So I have already mentioned to start looking for your research advisor, whether you're interested in a master's project or a master's thesis or a PhD dissertation. Go and peruse our faculty directory to learn more. We even have some students who might do, particularly the master's students, directed study courses or not informal interactions in labs to get your feet wet as you prepare for co-op. But if you're planning to do a thesis or dissertation, we do offer a process that allows you to explore different opportunities. In this process, when you arrive, if you arrive in the fall, we do have a rotation period of 3 months where you tell us about 5 labs that you might be interested in, and we try to arrange for you to rotate in 3 different laboratories. There are 3 rotations each, and at the end of the semester, based on your experience, you decide some research areas are not for you, and you might be very excited about others. And then we work with you to match you to an advisor. For master's students, we recognize that the timeline is really short. And so if you're able to identify a lab early, you can start early to do some research without having to go through the rotation process. The same is true for PhD students. If there's a funded lab that's a research assistantship, and we'll talk about funding a little bit later, but many of our PhD students come in without a match to a lab, and for them we do require the rotation so that we can ensure that you're matched to the best lab for your PhD journey. Next slide. And I just want to highlight the comment in Professor Ekensire's chat. Obviously, my bias towards biotechnology, but he has done an excellent job here of showing other areas that might be relevant to surfactants and polymer-based systems in our nanotechnology batteries and electrochemical processing group. So please, we definitely have something here for you at Northeastern. Please take a look at our directory. And now I will go on to talk a little bit about funding. Next slide. And this is on the topic of fellowships. So if you're interested in coming in with your own funding or pursuing your own funding, we encourage you and we're happy to mentor you through the process of applying for the National Defense Science and Engineering Graduate Fellowship or NASA opportunities or the AAUW or the NSF Graduate Research Fellowship, and there are more here. We do offer assistance through our communication lab, particularly once you enroll. In fact, right now we have a pre-doctoral fellowship workshop that the Khan Lab is working on. And their link is here so that you can learn more about those opportunities. And our department has had a pretty good success with students winning these awards. So this is an excellent opportunity for you not only to establish your own funding, but to have a little bit of freedom in terms of your research. So usually if you are working under a funded grant, you will align a little more closely to the goals of that grant. But if you come in with your own fellowship, you can start to chart some of your own directions. Next slide. And I also want to talk about co-op. I mentioned for some of the master's students and also our PhD students as well, that we have excellent co-op opportunities. So these are opportunities to work full-time in industry. At Northeastern, we believe in experiential education, so that might be in the lab, but we do promote that outside of industry, and even some of our research labs collaborate with industry. This also enables you to build up your resume so that by the time you graduate, you have access to excellent job opportunities. We teach you job search and interviewing skills, and it definitely helps you to grow personally and professionally. So co-op program is very formalized, where the co-op faculty will actually ask students to do reflections, so that if you're doing multiple co-ops, for example, you can improve, or if you're doing one co-op in preparation to enter into industry as a full-time employer, you can go in having learned not only the technical aspects, but the personal and professional aspects pertaining to your research field. Next slide. So it's important for you to be aware of our co-op requirements. Professor Eckensayer started out by talking with you about our courses. In those courses, we do require a GPA minimum before you would be eligible for co-op, and that's 3.2. For international students, there is a language minimum of 95 or higher on the TOEFL, and you can look at how that aligns to other language scores. Once you fulfill these requirements, you would then take a semester of our co-op course, as I mentioned, and then have access to co-op listings. They will also assist you, particularly the Office of Global Services will assist you with CPT paperwork so that you can go out and engage in your co-op. And more information can be found on the co-op website shown here. Next slide. These are just some of the co-op opportunities that are available and that our chemical engineering students have recently participated in. And I do want to say that for our undergraduate students, typically the co-ops are 6 months, but our master's students either do the 6 months or have the option of 4-month co-op, or even as long as an 8-month co-op. Next slide. And as I mentioned, we have substantial support for this. So we have our co-op faculty, they teach the co-op course, and they also work with students one-on-one on co-op advising. Our Office for Global Support works on CPT, as I mentioned. We have our academic advisors who will help you navigate your courses and track your GPA and progress towards graduation. Our Global Student Success Office is available to provide tutors and other support to help stabilize you in your courses. And then when you are approaching graduation, we also have career design and employment engagement available. Next slide. And now I will turn it over to our student ambassador to talk with you about how you can connect with our department as prospective students and also once you're here.
All right, sorry, kind of battling here. My name's Mallory. I'm a third-year PhD student here at Northeastern. I'm in Allison Dennis's lab, so we work on imaging and contrast agents, and there's a lot of cool stuff that we do. So if you have any individual questions about my lab, I'm happy to answer those questions. But in some of my extracurriculars, I am a graduate ambassador. And we're here to just support mostly new students with transitioning into their new role as a graduate student and living in Boston or whichever campus you're at, as we do have ambassadors on every single campus now. So you can contact us through our website. And I think the next slide also has a couple other ways we can get involved. Yep. So you can use our QR code right there. We're on a bunch of social media. We're on the ones listed, as well as we're working to get on TikTok. So hopefully we'll be getting some good content for you there. And we have a number of events like this one, like the open house and other things for you to learn about, not just the chemical engineering department, but other departments. And we have an email listserv that you can ask any questions you have about department specific or individual student experiences, but that email is not for admissions questions. And then I'm also involved with our Graduate Student Council. The GSC is here to represent PhD students and master's students, which is a really great way to get involved and, you know, get plugged in with all our students. We just had our first kickoff event for a first year mentoring program, which went really great. And we have a couple events coming up, including like pumpkin painting, Friendsgiving, potluck, and the gingerbread house competition are just some of the events that we put on. We also did a big formal just to celebrate our students. So we have a lot of things going on every month to get involved with our students. And then outside of our student council, we have a bunch of clubs that you can get involved in. So if you want to be involved with a different council, there is the College of Engineering PhD Council. I believe there's also a Master's Council as well if you want to get more involved on a college level versus just your specific department. And there's a number of organizations listed here, but there are even more than that. There's AICI, there's GWISE, oh, you have that one there. So there's the African student, graduate student, now I can't remember their full name. But there are so many student organizations that you can get involved in. And if you don't see one that you would like to join and you were a part of it in your undergraduate organization, there are paths to bring a chapter to Northeastern. So don't feel limited by what's here. You can always bring more to the campus.
So again, reach out, connect with us. There's a question from Leah on can you reach out to faculty labs now? You can. We'll also have if you get your applications in early and you're admitted, we will have a recruitment weekend available in the springtime where you can come and meet a lot of our faculty. But it never hurts to make contact sooner than later. But you don't have to line up an advisor before you get here, because we do have opportunities to hear from faculty once you're here, and also a rotation process that is available, especially for PhD applicants. Most of them will go through that rotation process in the first fall. So that's the default setting. So connect with us, and then I'm going to turn it back over to our admissions team to talk a little bit about next steps.
Perfect, thank you. If you go to the next slide, please. So just like we discussed, there's always tons of opportunities for you to connect, and something that already has been discussed is our resources for international students. So if you are an international student, the processes are a little bit different, but there is multiple support that is available for you. So our Office of Global Services will be the person or the department you will contact regarding your inquiries of your visa. If there is like a transcript evaluation that needs to be put into place or an audit that needs to be done, they will be the ones to help you. We do have an OGS representative in our admissions office as well that would also be reaching out if there is a point in time that if you're emailing us in the admissions office, they would also provide you some detailed information, as well as the person you should contact in OGS. As well as that, they also help with the visa piece. So if you're looking for like work outside of what you're doing at Northeastern, they also help you. So as we were saying, there is still time to apply. So if you have not yet submitted your application to Northeastern, the spring application pool is still open until October 1st. However, as you see, our application portal for the fall of 2025 is open. So for all PhD applicants, the deadline to submit your application is December 1st. And then for any priority MS applications is also December 1st, but we are on rolling admissions office, but we highly encourage you to keep minds of these important dates and deadlines. And then you could also find those dates and deadlines on our website. So, of course, a very common question is, what is our admissions requirement? And if I could get a fee waiver code. So this is a fee waiver code that you will use if you have not yet submitted an application to Northeastern, which is Apply COE 2025. We do require 2 letters of recommendation. We also require unofficial transcripts, a statement of purpose, a resume, and then we do accept 3 of the English proficiency exams that are listed. So that's IELTS, TOEFL, and Duolingo. Next slide, please. So this slide, I'm gonna let it sit for a minute or so. So that is the application fee waiver code you will use. It is case sensitive, so we do ask that you please make sure that you are spelling it correctly and that you're putting in the correct information when you are submitting your application. There is a bubble, or there's a pop-out bubble that says, do you have a fee waiver code? You want to click yes, and then you would input the fee waiver code. If you input it incorrectly, it won't let you move forward. So then at that point, you would have to click no. But these are just some rules that it's only for applicants that have not yet submitted an application. Next slide, please. So outside of that, and before we pass it, or before we go to the Q&A session, also keep in contact with us. We and the admissions team are constantly on the road, where if it's both domestic as well as international. If you are students that are in Africa, Northeastern will be in Africa for the first week of October. We also will have sessions in China. We also will be in all the other 50 states as well. But just like how Mallory has stated, as an ambassador, there is an ambassador email, and ambassadors are a great resource to ask specific questions regarding campus life, or anything along those lines. So please definitely stay in contact with us. And without further ado, I'd like to open up for Q&A. So I see both of our amazing faculty members have been answering the questions, so we appreciate you guys for that.
There's a question for you, Harsh, on application waivers, and can they get one once they've already submitted?
So unfortunately, once it's already submitted, you cannot, the system won't allow us to add in an application fee waiver code. And if you decide to submit in another application, the system automatically will delete the application that has a fee waiver code. So unfortunately, that is something that we don't unfortunately have control of. So that's just how it ends up, the system ends up doing its part.
And we have a question from Nayara, hopefully I got that right, on what makes a prospective student competitive for admission. So I would say it really depends on the program you're interested in. If you want to add into the chat which program specifically, but I can try to talk a little bit about each of the 3 as well. For the Pharmaceutical Sciences Master's Program, that is well, we're looking for the least in terms of admissions there. But some things that make applicants competitive, of course, good GPAs, as well as experience with relevant coursework. So we start off in pharmaceutical engineering working with differential equations and calculus. So we really want to see that students have done Cal 2 and differential equations before, and some experience with either biochemistry or molecular biology is also helpful, but not currently required. For the MS in Chemical Engineering program, what we're really looking for are similar, right? Good application all around, but also that you have experience with the math. So differential equations and up to Cal 3, really, multivariate calculus is what we're looking for the MS Chemie program. And then those are going to be the same. That's going to be the same for the PhD level. Really, in order to succeed in the coursework, you need a good math background. And otherwise, Professor Bong, did you want to talk a little bit more about the PhD?
I can. I would echo Professor Kinsar just mentioned about the academic background. We do get a significant number of applications from students who are not coming from chemical engineering bachelor's degrees. So I want to elaborate there and just say to take a look at our catalog, which is available online, to see that in our department, we actually do not have a formal qualifying exam. Our qualifying exam consists of four academic areas, which are thermodynamics, transport, kinetics, and the math that was just mentioned. So if you're applying to our program and you're not coming from chemical engineering, we do welcome you because, again, we are interdisciplinary, but we advise that you take elective courses, one of the other areas, so that you can have a competitive application. We want to be able to see you succeed through our qualifying exam process. Then subsequently, what's important to us is also the research, because the dissertation is a significant aspect, and Mallory can talk about her experience perhaps. The coursework gives some anxiety to PhD students, but that's really in the first year and a half. And then after that, everything is your research, where you're going to be making a significant contribution in your research field. So we look for students who have had some prior exposure to research or projects, or even if you have had some industry experience, that tells us that you can establish your own research questions and directions, design experimental paths, interpret data, report out, those types of things. Hopefully that answers your question.
I'll take the next question on follow up on requirements for master's programs. So a minimum GPA, as mentioned there. So once you're in the program, the College of Engineering does have a 3.0 minimum GPA in order to stay in and complete the program. And in order to participate in a co-op, there's the minimum 3.2 GPA required to do that. So when we are admitting students to our master's program, we like to try and admit students that we think will be able to meet those requirements, because we would like to see our students succeed and do the things they want to do while they're here. So otherwise, each application is a little individual, and we really pay more attention to grades in particular courses that are directly relevant than the overall GPA.
I do also want to add for the PhD side, on the GPA, our minimum expectation is a 3.25 for students to advance in the PhD. And then the other piece I want students to know is that from year to year, the research needs change. So we have, for example, new faculty coming in January, where we're going to be looking for PhD students who are interested in that research area. Or we may have other labs that are, too large right now. It might not be able to take on a new student, while another lab that's already been established has recent graduates and there's room for students. So I say that, just to advise you that we look forward to your application, but if we're not able to admit you for the PhD on this cycle, we may have space in future cycles.
And then there's another question from Leah on whether research work experience should be listed on the resume or highlighted in another part of the application. I would say absolutely. Any experience that is relevant should be highlighted in your personal statement in appropriate ways. So your personal statement or your essay is how you let us know what you want to do and how you've been prepared for graduate school. The resume can help kind of fill in additional details, but the big highlights really ought to be in your statement.
I wonder if Mallory, I want to make sure we hear your voice too. If you don't mind taking the question from Alfred, it's about the opportunities for graduate research assistantship positions.
Yeah, sorry about that. So all PhD students obviously have the opportunity to be a graduate research assistant. That's the whole point. In terms of master students, there are also opportunities. You just would need to reach out to individual labs to see if they are hiring. There are a number of labs who are looking to hire just PhDs or PhDs and masters or just master students. I would say you have to be a little bit more proactive on the master side because um, if you want to be paid, that can like limit your options. But if you're looking just to get research experience and kind of more like a volunteer position, there are a lot of opportunities with that as well. But definitely be proactive and reach out to many different research labs, including ones that you think you might not be interested in, because you may find that you would work really well with that particular advisor, and that may turn out to be a better option for you compared to finding a lab that matches your research experiences perfectly, but you don't think you would have the best like communication style between you, the PI, or you yourself and other fellow lab mates, because that isn't very important portion of going to graduate school as well. So hopefully that answers that question about being a research assistant.
So Mallory, since we have you already, the mic is yours. What made you choose Northeastern University compared to other universities?
Okay, yeah. I did have one thing that I was like, I want this more than anything in the world. I wanted to live in Boston. My best friend from college grew up in the Boston suburbs, and I just loved it. So I only applied to schools in the Boston and Cambridge area. Northeastern, I came for a visit weekend, and something that people, oh, I saw in the chat, I'm not originally from the Boston area. I'm from the suburbs of Chicago, and then I went to Ole Miss, the University of Mississippi for undergrad, and now I'm here. So I've been around. And I came for visit weekend, and when I was talking to labs and students at different universities, something they suggested to me was for visit weekend, look around and see the people who could potentially be in your cohort. And if you think you would fit in and you'd be good friends with them and they would be supportive for you during your PhD, that is also that's also something really important. And I like fell in love with campus. I like met my current roommate, a lot of my really great friends at visit weekend. And I really liked how collaborative and there's just like a really healthy environment, I think, at Northeastern, where they encourage people to work really hard, but not overexert themselves, and that there is a work-life balance. And there's all around like just, I think, a very healthy work environment, which is not always the case at every single university. And I think that's really apparent in our department.
Thank you. We appreciate that information.
There are so many good questions in this chat. How should we proceed, Harsh? I know we're coming up on time.
Yeah, we're almost at the top of the hour, so I would probably answer one or maybe two more questions, but just some common questions that I've been seeing in the chat. So for fee waiver code, the code has been shared so that you could use for the fall application, as well as for English waiver. I'm going to reshare the admissions guideline page in order to be waived for your English proficiency exam. So that's listed there. It tells you the countries that are waivable. If you are an international student, however, you have obtained your undergraduate degree from the States, you're not required to take an English proficiency exam since you already have a degree from the States.
And I'll try to see if I can grab a few questions. Someone is asking about visit weekend. As long as you apply on time by the priority deadline of December 1st, we're able to make a decision and invite you to our visit weekend, which is in February. That's for domestic students. And we welcome our international students for virtual revisit. So Harsh's team in the graduate admissions office will be scheduling virtual visits for those students. Professor Eckensaar has answered the question about the essay. There's another question about someone who's not core in terms of their background in chemical engineering. So I just reiterate, we are an interdisciplinary department, college and university. So we welcome you, but please make sure to do what you can to build your background in thermodynamics, transport kinetics, and math. And let's see, I think they got them, unless there are some new questions.
Yeah, I think we got majority of them. Just for students that are domestic or within the area or would like to fly to campus, we do host campus tours in person. They are hosted by our student ambassador. So if you visit our events page, you will see the dates that are available for campus tours. They are usually done on the weekend. They're much more guided by our master's students, but the university as a whole does do tours with the undergraduate department, and they are more than welcome to answer any questions you have. And then, of course, you could also stop by Snell Engineering Building where you can meet with an admissions person, and we can also have more detailed conversation.
I will also say the same. So if you were to come for those weekend visits, that's on Saturday. You're welcome as you're communicating with faculty to visit labs and students. I've had students come and sit in on my meetings, but on Fridays, what we typically have are a lunchtime professional development course where any student who is interested in our department is welcome to join us. So you would meet first and second year PhD students in that setting. So if you are trying to connect with faculty and you're not able to hear from people as they travel for conferences and things like that, at minimum, we would welcome you on that Friday lunch. And then on Saturday, you can join the grad admissions event. And in between, explore Boston. We welcome you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone that has joined us, and please enjoy the rest of the open house sessions. Take care, everyone.